Welcome back to the Couch Potato Show. We're doing a little March Madness special, me and Frank today. Um, we're gonna sit down and go through the entire bracket: East, West, North, Midwest, South,
You named five
Northeast, whatever
regions.
the hell the regions are.
I don't know how you
Um,
did it, but you named five regions.
and yeah, we'll go through each one, break down matchups, and give our sleeper teams and all that jazz. So I believe you made a list of who you think
Did
you got a few sleeper teams that you like. Why don't
I
you
got a
start
few
off with
sleeper
that?
teams and I got a few duds that everyone thinks are good teams, but they might be duds.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, first one I got to playing tonight. They're playing UCLA tonight. You got Michigan State. You don't bet against Tom Izzo and March. Great coaches win championships. And listen, they go when Aaron Henry goes. When he scores 15 points a game, they're 10-2. So it's a good team. I like their first round matchup. They got UCLA, and then I forget who they play.
You got BYU first round.
BYU. So yeah, I would like that matchup for them. They finished just under 500 in the Big Ten, but they made their wins count. They beat Illinois, they beat Ohio State, and they beat Michigan.
Yep.
So definitely a team to be reckoned with, even if their record isn't pretty.
I mean they finished below 500 in a league where you had about 10 teams with high overall seeds in the tournament. So
Well,
not
you have two number one seeds in Illinois and Michigan. You have a number two seed in Ohio State, a number four in Purdue. And,
we got a ton.
it's tough. It's
So
tough.
um I love that pick personally in my bracket. We'll get into this in a little bit. But I love Michigan State as long as they can get past UCLA tonight. Um,
Yeah, that's. I don't
it'll be
know.
a good game.
It'll be
But
that's probably my favorite game on the slate tonight. I don't
yeah,
really
I
care
think
about the
it's the
16
premier. I think
playing
it's the
games.
premier game.
The Drake Wichita State one could be good, but I took Drake in that one. I don't know about you. I mean, we don't pick that for like bracket challenge or anything, but if I were to pick, I'd probably pick Drake.
I like Wichita State in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter for like the bracket challenge stuff because they used to make you pick them, but you don't have to pick them
Yeah, luckily. Who else you got?
Classic got Loyola Chicago, beat out Drake in that conference. It's a tough conference. Missouri Valley, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah. And first round, I wrote this down before first round developments happened, but Georgia Tech just lost ACC Player of the Year. So first round they could probably win, and then after that, I forget who they play. One.
you got Georgia Tech first, and then they win, and then they
And
play
then
the winner.
Illinois. So that could be a tough. That's a tough matchup, obviously. But
As
listen,
long as Illinois gets past Drexel.
assuming Illinois gets past Drexel, I mean, it's only happened once in the history. Could happen again. Who knows? But again, they got Sister Jean, man. You got to put them on the list. They got Sister Jean in Indianapolis.
When Sister Jean is in the arena, you cannot bet against the Ramblers.
There's no way you can't. And she had him going to the Elite Eight, I think, in her bracket. She made a bracket.
Really? She counted him out that early?
Yeah, they had him. They had him beat Illinois, obviously, and I think she said Elite Eight. She had an interview with what's his face, Andy Katz. I think she said Elite Eight in that one.
Yeah, the Loyola Chicago is definitely one of those teams that can make a run.
Especially after what's the kid's name from Georgia Tech? I forget. It was ACC Player of the Year. I forget his name because it was kind of relevant because ACC kind of sucked. But still, I mean, Georgia Tech did come off the ACC
Was it the kid that played 40 minutes in the ACC championship game?
Yeah, he played literally the entire game. I think.
Wait, he's out?
Yeah, he had COVID.
Oh, crap.
I'll double check and make sure I'm not making shit up. But,
that's big. Because he's the Georgia Tech's one of those teams where he's their best player, and after him, it's not even close.
Yeah, Moses Wright, ACC Player of the Year.
I don't think that's who it is.
ACC Player of the Year is Moses Wright.
I don't think that's who I was thinking of.
Oh, you're thinking of the point guard. Starts with an A. What's his name? Played really well in the ACC championship game.
Yeah.
I forget his name. I probably should have looked it up before.
Keep talking. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, they lost. Wright. Averages 17 and a half, 8 and a block and a half per game. So only second player of the year in Georgia Tech history. Definitely a big blow for them. They're going to have to find a lot of offense quickly. I think he's out for at least the first 2 games of the tournament, so they'd have to make it past Loyola and then Illinois, which is Loyola I think is unlikely now, but Illinois is very unlikely. So.
Jose Alvarado.
That's his name, Alvarado. I knew it was Jose something.
I think as long as they have him, they have a chance against Loyola Chicago.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you can replace 18 points a game in scoring just like overnight, which they're going to have to do.
Did in the ACC championship game. Not saying that this is Loyola Chicago is actually going to give them a run for their money. But,
it's a good team, man.
Yeah.
They got what's that guy's name? I'm terrible with names. I'll think of it in the middle of the night, but still, it's one of my teams, man. Of course, I have them not beating Illinois, but if they're in the East region, because the East region is pretty weak in my opinion, they're in the East. They could upset Michigan. I'm not saying it's likely, but they could, especially with Isaiah Livers out. But we'll talk about that later because I think it's on my list on the other ones. So they all screwed with Illinois. So
you got Michigan State, you got Loyola Chicago. Who else you got?
We got Oklahoma State, Cade Cunningham's team, 4 seed, arguably top 6 contender for the Final Four. A lot of people are picking them for the Final Four.
Yeah.
After beating Baylor in the Big 12 semifinals. Eventually,
you got to rely on him though.
Yeah, listen, it's still a good team. They had some guys step up when Cade was out. Avery Anderson scored 20 a couple times. They're a good team, and they played a really tough conference in the Big 12. I think it's one of those teams that they're really seasoned because you got Baylor, Kansas. Who else is in the Big 12? Texas Tech. It's all good teams. Texas. It's a good conference. So I think, especially in March Madness, the key to winning in March is playing good competition throughout the entire year. And that's kind of the reason Gonzaga never wins the chip. It's because they don't play competition the entire year. And they kind of just have to ramp it back up again. So, yeah. Definitely one of my sleeper teams. Right, but again, another team that has to play Illinois in what I believe is the Elite Eight that I have. So that's the Elite Eight.
Illinois. They don't have to play Illinois.
Well, they don't. If Illinois advances the way I think they're going to advance, they will eventually have to play Illinois.
Right. But Loyola Chicago, again, is one of those teams where it wouldn't be out of the realm of extreme to say that they could knock off in Illinois.
No, definitely not.
So, all right, who else you got?
Again, it's another one of those teams. If they were in, say, the East region, I'd have them as a Final Four team. But they're not. So. All right, number 4, I got Winthrop, 23-1 in the Big South. What else I got? Great defense, average about 65 points against for their opponents every game. And I got a bunch of notes here, but it's all blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go.
That's an easy path for them.
Listen, they got we'll talk about Villanova later because I have them in my duds team. But they play Villanova in the first round, and then if Baylor wins,
they play the winner of Purdue and North Texas.
Yeah, and then if they win that, I'm really getting out of myself because that's just what I like doing. And then if Baylor advances the way I think Baylor's going to advance, they have to play Baylor eventually. So it's easy for the first 2 rounds until the Sweet 16, and then they have to play Baylor. But it's a team that I could easily see going to the Sweet 16. Villanova's down right now; they're down bad. I will talk about them later. But I'm not big on Purdue, although they played in a really big conference, a really good conference in the Big Ten. And I forget who Purdue is playing. I don't know the bracket well enough.
Purdue's playing North Texas.
Yeah, North. They're good too. I don't know. I had Purdue winning that game, so. But another team, one of those 12 seeds, the 12-5 matchups. You always got to have at least one upset in 12-5.
Those 12-5 matchups this year, and there's a lot of those games where, and I've seen this other than my own bracket, but a lot of people are going majority 12 seeds.
Yep. A lot of people are taking Georgetown. A lot of people are taking Winthrop.
Just the
other one? US Santa Barbara, UC Santa Barbara.
Yeah, UC Santa Barbara over Creighton is a popular one. Winthrop over Villanova is obviously a popular one with Gillespie out. Georgetown over Colorado is a popular one.
And Tennessee hasn't played well either, so they could lose too.
Yeah, that's the one that I've seen.
That's the least likely in my opinion.
Yeah, the least likely, but still, Oregon State.
Still a tough game though. Yeah, still a tough game.
Can't rule that out either. So, All right, who else you got on your list?
I got one more. I got my team Uconn, my Big East team. You picked them to win the Big East tournament. They didn't do it because they played Creighton, tough team. But they play really good defense. I think I'm always a defensive guy. I admit it every time we talk about it. They play really, really good defense. They got James Bouknight back. He's a 20-point per game scorer. Won the scoring title in the Big East. He qualified, but he missed 9 games with, what was it, a hand injury or something?
Yeah.
Some kind of injury. And then they got AJ Cole cooking at the right time. This kid's good. No one's talking about him. I've seen him play in the Big East, of course, because I watch mainly Big East games, and he's good. It's a really good team. So they got Maryland, who I think they can beat. Maryland's pretty inconsistent offensively, in my opinion. And then they got your Tide. I think that's a game that
is a good
they
game.
could really give Tides a run for their money. I really think so. So definitely an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, I like that list. I think there's a couple other teams that I could have possibly thrown on there.
There's a ton this year.
There is a lot, and we'll get to it in a little bit. We'll break down all the games. One team that I kind of am salty you're sleeping on, or I don't know if you're sleeping on them or not, but they weren't in your list. Colgate.
I am sleeping on Colgate a little bit. I like Arkansas a lot.
Don't get me wrong. I have Arkansas in the Final Four. But
whoa. SEC bias over here. Whoa.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's all right. I show a ton of Big East bias in my bracket, so it's okay.
It's all right. I have LSU, Alabama in the Elite Eight, so. But Colgate's one of those teams where they shoot and they make their shots. Like, they're not one of these teams where they'll take a lot of 3-pointers and they'll live and die by the 3. Colgate lives by the 3, and they haven't really died yet.
Listen, it's because they play in the Patriot League, to be honest.
And they play terrific defense. Obviously, the Patriot League is easy.
My best comparison for Colgate is probably Alabama, if I'm going to be honest.
Absolutely, and they shoot better than Alabama. That's the thing.
And they shoot way more, not a ton more consistently, but more consistent than Alabama. So it's very comparable. It's very comparable.
I think I've seen, I forget exactly who it was, but somebody compared. I think it was Reese Davis. Obviously, coming from him, it's easy to say as an Alabama alum, but he compared Colgate to a better Alabama, and obviously not better overall, but a better shooting team than Alabama. Yeah. And they can go out.
They're always good.
If they're on their night, they can beat anybody.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those teams where if they start cooking, they can knock off an Arkansas. They can go ahead and Texas Tech and Utah State. That's a game where whoever comes out of that game, I don't think they're a very strong contender either way. So whoever wins,
I like Texas Tech a lot.
I like Texas Tech, but if Mac's not on his game, then I don't like them. You got to really rely on Mac, and he's been very inconsistent this year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that's an iffy game. I think whoever wins the Arkansas Colgate game has an easy path to the Sweet 16, and then you got to deal with Ohio State, or Florida, or Virginia Tech, of course. But
I think it'll be Ohio State personally.
I think it'll be Ohio State too, but just for shits and gigs, I have Virginia Tech going to Sweet 16 out of that.
Oh, you like Virginia Tech? Okay.
That quad.
Yeah.
They can play well. Virginia Tech's another one.
I'm going to be honest. I'm still filling out this bracket, man. It's tough.
It is tough.
I'm flipping still. I literally just submitted a new one. I'm trying, man.
I've got like 8 or 9. So
it's tough. I like Texas Tech.
Let's go through.
We'll talk about it.
Let's go through a region that you.
Do you want to do my flopper teams first, or do you want to go through the bracket first?
Let's go through the bracket real quick. We'll go through the East, and we'll go through the West.
Okay.
And then we'll get to your floppers. Because I just want to talk about the East, because you did mention that they are kind of weak, and I completely agree with you. Obviously, in the Midwest, you have the obvious Illinois pick. They've been so good with AO, and in the South, you got Baylor. Even Ohio State's really strong. Arkansas is really strong. In the West, obviously, you have Gonzaga and Iowa, but the East is kind of wide open. I think you have Michigan, who's really good,
but
but
without some players,
without their best player. So it's still up in the air, and they haven't played great without
they've not.
what's his name?
Isaiah Livers.
Yeah, they haven't played great without him. So they're one of those teams.
Lost to Illinois by 20 in the Big Ten semis.
Right.
So
Alabama, one of those teams where they could go on a run if they get hot, but if they aren't on their game, they can lose to anybody.
I see Alabama either making the Final Four or being out in the second round. And I don't think there's an in-between. I really don't.
I think there is an in-between just because I don't think the Uconn Maryland game is an automatic Uconn advance. I think if Maryland could pull that off, if they do, I really like the tie. And this is me unbiased. I really like the tie.
No, you're right.
Maryland.
If Maryland wins that game, I would take the tie. Yeah. But I have UConn winning that game, and I even have UConn beating the Tide because I feel I told this throughout the entire year. There's going to be one game this year where the Tide just don't shoot at all, and I think it's going to be against UConn because they play phenomenal defense.
Well, both teams can play phenomenal defense.
They both play phenomenal. Yeah.
Alabama's one of the best defensive teams in the country.
Yeah, so. But UConn, like, this is my Big East bias, obviously. So it's like our biases against each other. But watching UConn play defense is like majestic. And Alabama's the same way. Like, they play fantastic defense. So that's what when the bracket came out, like, I texted you. I was like, bro, I want to see this Alabama UConn game more than the only other game I want to see more than that would probably be Illinois and Oklahoma State. That would probably be my 1-2 games that I want to see in the tournament.
I really want to see Gonzaga, Iowa.
That'd be a good one as well.
Give me an Elite Eight Gonzaga, Iowa game.
I did ride your Ducks for a very long time because the Ducks. I rode the Ducks for a while.
You want to get in on a little something?
What's up?
I have Oregon beating VCU. I have Oregon beating Iowa. I have Oregon beating Wichita State
over Kansas,
who previously beat Kansas.
Okay.
And then I have the Ducks falling finally to Gonzaga.
Can I tell you something? I have the same exact thing, just Kansas over Wichita State. That's the only difference. I was helping one of my buddies fill out a bracket, and he's like, "Why'd you pick Oregon?" And I was like, "I have a personal history with Oregon. It's a thing for me and Tyler. Don't ask any questions. It's just a thing."
Listen, talking about defense, cannot miss the Ducks. Chris Duarte is one of the best defensive players in the country.
And he's only a sophomore. I thought he was a junior or a senior. This guy's going to come back for 2 more years probably.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But getting back to the East, real quick. You've got one, and I'll count them. You got Michigan, Alabama, Texas, obviously. Florida State, Colorado. I don't know about BYU, but you still got UConn, Maryland, St. Bonaventure. Really, LSU is a strong 8 seed. You have so many teams that can come out of this region. It's totally up in the air.
The thing is, if the region, there's a ton of teams that could win the whole region. But if the team that does win the region, I don't see winning a Final Four game or winning a national championship.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, you can pick basically, like you said, probably like 6, 7, or 8 teams to win that region, and I'd be like, okay, that's fine. But I don't see any of them making it further than the Final Four.
Yeah, this is a really, it's a strong competitive region.
Yeah,
But
it reminds me of, like, baseball analogy. It reminds me of the NL Central, where all the teams are pretty even, but I don't see any of the teams advancing against other teams in other regions.
Right. It's just one of those where whoever wins is going to have a really tough matchup. And if we're going chalk, it's going to be either a Gonzaga or an Iowa, or in our case, an Oregon. Heck, even Kansas is going to be a tough game.
Even Kansas has been playing really well. They sputtered for the middle of the season, and at the end they really picked it up, so they could also win the whole region.
It's a tough region. So who are your floppers? Let's get to that. I want to hear this.
Let me pull it back up. All right. Number 1, we talked about it. I got Michigan. Could be a flop. No Isaiah Livers really kills them. They did not end the way you want to end the regular season, but their conference tournament with a 20-point loss to Illinois. And they got some tough matchups. I know the 16 seeds, like whatever, but St. Bonnie's is no joke. I took Michigan to win that game, but St. Bonnie's is still a tough game.
Yeah.
They got Florida State again. If I'm going by my bracket, then I got Florida State. I like Florida State a lot, if I'm going to be honest. So it's a tough region. Like you said, competitive within their own region, but not with other regions.
Yeah, and just for Michigan, I got LSU beating St. Bonaventure, and I think that Michigan and LSU game could
that would be a good game too.
If we get that game, if LSU wins, if they beat St. Bonaventure, I think that Michigan and LSU game could be the premier game of that region throughout the entire tournament.
Yeah.
Who else you got?
All right, let's see. Then I got Houston. Every year, Houston's like a top 3 seed, and they never seem to make it very far. It's because they play in a kind of shitty conference. They kind of crumble under the pressure of March, in my opinion. And again, they have a tough matchup too. They got to play. What I have is Rutgers. I don't know what you have because they play Clemson, so they could very well lose to Clemson.
I have Rutgers.
Yes, but I have them playing Rutgers in the second round. That's a Big Ten matchup. That's not an easy game either. So I could definitely see them sputtering that game. And then I forget who's the 3 seed in that region, but I can look.
We've got West Virginia.
Yeah, West Virginia too. Big 12 team. I didn't even mention them in my list of Big 12 teams before. So they're a really good team too. So it's tough for them. I think they crumble to West Virginia. That's what I have it as. I don't know about you.
I have, and call me crazy, I have Syracuse over West Virginia.
Okay.
I love the orange early on in tournaments. Only twice has Jim Boeheim ever been eliminated in the round of 64. So kind of.
It's a tough game, West Virginia, man. It's tough.
It's going to be a tough one against San Diego State to start. And then going on against West Virginia, that's going to be a really good game. The thing with Syracuse is their defense is so crazy where if West Virginia wins and they're not prepared for Syracuse, that's why Jim Boeheim has been so good in the NCAA tournament, because his defenses, they can mix it up so well that you can't really prepare for it. You have to really prepare in advance for it. So on one day's rest or 2 days rest or whatever it's going to be, it's going to be tough for West Virginia if they do play Syracuse. So that's why I have Syracuse.
They could get caught looking ahead to, say, a team like Houston or Rutgers or whoever comes out of that area. So they could definitely see like, oh, we have to get prepared for this game, Big Ten or Houston. So I could definitely see that happening as well.
Yeah. What else you got?
And then I got Tennessee. They play terrific defense, like much of the SEC does, but I think a product of playing great defense in the SEC is just because their offenses can be pretty shaky at times. Tennessee is very much one of those teams. Lots of dribbling, lots of standing around, and their offense could get really, really out of sorts. So I think that it's a team that can either play great defense and win a couple games, or they can be out first round because they can't score a bucket to save their lives. So
I love that. I love that pick. I personally have them beating Oregon State. I know Oregon State's hot, but like you said, the defense is really good there. So I think they get past the Oregon State. But after that, you have a really tough game against Oklahoma State, assuming they beat.
I have them losing that game.
You have Tennessee losing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do I. So Tennessee, I'd say not an easy first round matchup, but
kind of like
not a tough one. And then after that, you got Oklahoma State. If you happen to get past Oklahoma State, you do have Illinois. So
if everything goes, assuming
if everything's chalk as we expect, yeah.
So tough. I don't see them making past Oklahoma State. I really like Oklahoma State. If they played in a different region, they'd probably be in my Final Four. But,
yeah. Who else you got?
4th team, Villanova. We talked about it already. No Colin Gillespie could be really tough for them. I see them losing the first round against Winthrop. They looked horrendous, and I mean horrendous against Georgetown. I watched the game because I knew that Seton Hall would have to play that team if we won our game, so I watched their game. They were really offense was terrible. They lost Justin Moore as well. That's another, I think, like 14 points a game. So it's around 30 points a game that they're losing right off rip. I don't know if they can recover from that. And if they get out against Winthrop, I don't think they win the next round. So they could definitely be a team, another blue blood that just kind of flops this year, in my opinion.
I do like that as a flop. If they do happen to get past Winthrop, obviously Purdue is going to be a really hard matchup, assuming they get past North Texas. Because Purdue's got a lot of size on their side.
Ton of size. Although Robinson Earl can really handle that kind of size, it's just like I don't know how they run their offense without Colin Gillespie and Justin Moore. Those are two of their top 4 players. I don't,
because we thought that we would see it eventually come the towards the Big East tournament, because they kind of had enough time to really adjust, but they haven't.
No.
So I don't think it's.
And he won Player of the Year in the Big East. He was one of 3 of them. The other one was Jeremiah Robinson Earl. But when you lose your star point guard, Big East Player of the Year point guard, it's tough. It's really hard.
Yeah, so. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
What you got?
I got one more. I'm assuming you've liked the rest of mine. Correct?
Yes.
You're gonna hate this one. I got Bama. I could easily see them flopping at any point. I have them losing to UConn personally. That's just my Big East biased self. So a lot of great defense. I told you this a few weeks ago. I could watch their defense for 50 minutes a game and I'd be in complete bliss. I'd love it. Their offense is just like so hard to watch at times. It's impossibly hard to watch. And I think you'd agree with me.
Yeah.
So I think it's a team that, again, they could definitely make a Final Four, but I have them losing in the second round because UConn's going to play really good defense, and I don't think they make it past UConn.
Bama's one of those teams, and I've watched every game they've played this year. Their defense, like you said, is phenomenal, one of the best in the country, if not the best.
Top 3 in the country, I would say.
Yeah. But the offense, if they're making shots.
If they're making shots, they're a Final Four team.
If they play like they did against Mississippi State in the SEC tournament, it is Mississippi State. So take that game with a grain of salt. If they play like they did, if they shoot like they did in that game, and this has been said by many people, they can beat anybody in the country. And I
Absolutely.
mean anybody.
Absolutely.
But we haven't seen that shooting. We didn't see it in the Tennessee game. We didn't see it in the LSU game. They had to really work the ball around, which they're not accustomed to doing. And once they get the ball inside, they don't really have size. That's Alabama's biggest problem. They don't have size. So once you get the ball inside, you need to score on your first opportunity because you're not getting that offensive rebound. So.
And I've seen too many games this year where Alabama honestly plays like absolute shit, and they get lucky and draw it out. I think at some point the luck has to run out. It's got to be one of these games eventually. There's going to be a game where they shoot like 20% from 3, and they don't win because they shot 20% from 3. But like you said, if they shoot 45%, they're going to be an Elite 8 Final Four team probably.
Yeah.
So it's probably my biggest wild card because, again, they could either like make a run or be absolutely terrible. No one knows. No one knows.
You see a lot of these teams that can shoot. They're kind of streaky. Alabama's not streaky, which is it's a plus and a minus for them. They can go out and they can shoot 20%, 15% from 3 on one game and just get by with their defense against a bad team. And then they can go out the next game and they can shoot 40, 45% and blow a team out on the very next day. It's night and day with them. So they can go out.
It's so unpredictable.
They can go out and play Iona and just squeak by with defense. It could be a close game. They might not shoot well. And then the very next day, they can go out against UConn or Maryland and shoot lights
and win
out.
By 25 because they shot 50% for 30.
So
even the fact that you're agreeing with me just shows like how freaking crazy this team is. Like no one knows
You saw
What's
it.
going to happen?
You saw it in the SEC tournament. They went out against Mississippi State, who isn't a good team, but they shot lights out from three. They shot 45% in that game. They were incredible from three. They played great defense, and then they went out against Tennessee. The defense was still there, but they couldn't buy a three.
Couldn't score at all.
So that's the scary part about the Tide. But if they do have that shot, they're one of the most dangerous teams in this field.
Absolutely, and that's not it. Yeah, absolutely. I just have Big East bias, and I really like the way UConn was playing up until Creighton. Even they played Creighton really tough. They killed my Pirates at one point. They're playing really well. I like this kid, Andre Johnson, freshman. He doesn't get a lot of minutes for them, but I think he could be a really big X factor for them at some point.
Yeah. You want to run through the South and the Midwest?
Yeah, sure.
Who do you like out of the South? Because the South is one of those conferences. Not conference. I'm sorry. One of those regions where you have a Baylor, you have Ohio State, you have Arkansas, and you have Purdue as your top four teams.
And even after that, you have.
After that, you have Villanova, Texas Tech, Florida,
Yeah.
North Carolina in March, and Wisconsin.
Tough.
So.
And even teams like Utah State, I don't really like that much. They're okay. Wisconsin's a Big Ten team, so I can see them making a run as well. And then you said Colgate before, so.
Who do you like?
This is one of the ones that I was changing up until 5 minutes ago because I had Texas Tech. I was like, Texas Tech fully in. I was ready because I've seen Mac McClung play in Georgetown, and this guy's a killer. So I was like, Texas Tech, had them in the Final Four. And now I'm like, I don't freaking know. Now I'm second guessing. I could see Ohio State winning it. Baylor, I like Baylor again. I could either see winning it or losing early because they've been pretty inconsistent when they have played. They had some COVID stuff, so they didn't play really consistently throughout the entire season. I would take Ohio. I'm going to take Ohio State. That's my bracket. I'm done. I'm done filling it out. I took Ohio State.
I said I had Arkansas in the Final Four. That's just my slight SEC bias. I just love Moses Moody so much, and JD.
That guy, top 10 pick in the draft, without a doubt.
JD Note even coming off the bench is lethal.
That guy's defense, holy crap! I watched it for the first time like 2 weeks ago because I was like, I don't watch the SEC. It bores me. I told you. Holy crap! Oh my god, this guy can play some freaking defense.
Yeah, and he can shoot. He can get inside. He's big. He can really do anything. So he can make mid-range shots without any trouble. And then you have JD Note, who's kind of like a Damian Lillard coming off the bench. He can shoot from the logo if he needs to, and he has. So that's why I think Arkansas is a dangerous team. You can't forget and you can't sleep on Baylor, though.
No, absolutely not.
That backcourt is the best in the country, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think it's close. Just
not that I can think of.
No, honestly. I can't think of anybody else
tough.
Up there.
But again, it's I don't really
and you
don't really know what you're going to get out of Baylor, because they were undefeated for a very long time, and then they lost. I forget who they lost to, but they lost like 2 out of 4 games. They went like 500 at one point. And then they lost in the Big 12 tournament, and you're like, what am I getting from Baylor? Are they going to be 18-0, or are they going to be a 500 team against a good conference? Don't get me wrong, but this is the NCAA tournament. Every team is good, and every team deserves to be there. So you don't really know what you're getting from Baylor.
Yeah, you're there for a reason. So
they're a number 1 team for a reason. They got to go out and prove it.
Yeah. But yeah, Baylor, Arkansas. I'll admit I've kind of slept on Ohio State. I haven't seen Ohio State play this year.
Good, man.
They're good.
They're good. Played Illinois pretty tough in the Big Ten title game until the end. It got a little stretched out, but
yeah,
played tough the entire game. Finished, I think, second in that or third in that conference. I don't know, something like that.
One of those.
They really hit they got JD Liddell. Is that his name?
Yeah.
That's his name. JD Liddell's the big man for them. He's got all the skills you could want. He can pass. He can shoot pretty well for a guy his size. So he's pretty scary.
One of those teams that they could. I think they could exit in the round of 32, or they could go and make the Final Four.
I feel like we're saying this about a lot of teams, but it's March Madness for a reason. No one knows.
There's this field is one of the best we've ever seen, just because there's so many teams that can go out and make a run. And we haven't really been able to compare teams as well this year as we have in past years.
Because we haven't any non-conference stuff. There's been no non-conference games pretty much, so no one really knows how to play against different teams.
Not as much as
not nearly as much as usual.
Yeah, so
it's been very minimal.
It's tough. Heck, Rutgers could go out and make the Final Four just because they're in the Big East.
Listen, I really like Rutgers. They really underperformed.
They were hot at the beginning of the year when they were
they were top 10 team at one point, I think.
Rutgers, when they started the year, non-conference schedule, and even the beginning of the Big Ten schedule, they were right up there with the best teams in the NCAA. So could they get back to that non-conference style and go out and dominate like they have? They could.
They could. I see them. They could definitely beat Houston in the second round. I don't have them doing that, but I could definitely see them doing it. Geo Baker's a freaking killer. That guy's a stud. So you don't know.
If you had to take out Illinois and you had to take out Houston, who in that Midwest region do you think has the best chance? I'm sorry, if take out Illinois, take out Oklahoma State, because I know you're very high on both.
Yeah, I would have said Oklahoma State. So now if I took out Illinois, Houston, and Oklahoma State.
Just Illinois and Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I don't really like Houston. Based on if you asked me based on talent, I'd have a different answer. But the way the bracket is laid out, I'd probably take West Virginia just because they play in a really tough Big 12 conference, and that their side of the bracket isn't easy by any means, but it's definitely not as bad as the Illinois side of the bracket. Because, again, you have Loyola Chicago in there. That's a really tough game. You got Oklahoma State in there, who I can't take. Tennessee is, I said they might flop, but they're still a good team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd probably take West Virginia because their toughest game would probably be either Houston or San Diego State, which I think is obviously easier than
or Syracuse,
Oklahoma State, Tennessee, or Illinois. So.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
I have Houston in the Elite Eight, just because of the other games that I have.
So who do you have them playing? West Virginia or somebody else?
I have Syracuse beating San Diego State.
Yeah.
Syracuse moves on. I have West Virginia over Morehead State. West Virginia moves on. I have Rutgers beating Clemson, so Rutgers moves on. And then I have Houston beating Cleveland State. So I have Houston beating Rutgers and moving on. And then I have Syracuse beating West Virginia and moving on.
Oh, so then you have to take.
So I have Houston playing a 15 seed, a 10 seed, and then an 11 seed and moving on to the Elite Eight for that reason.
Yeah, you'd have to. You can only ride Jim Boeheim's prestige for so long.
Right. I think if Houston gets out there and if they play West Virginia, it's going to be a really hard game, and I think I might take the Mountaineers in that game. But I just don't think West Virginia is going to be able to get it done preparation-wise for Syracuse.
I definitely see your point. It's definitely valid.
But Houston is also one of those teams where they can get hot, and because they're one of those defensive teams too, and they play good defense consistently. But if they can shoot, they can't beat anybody, but they can beat a lot of teams in that region.
Yeah, they've led a couple duds this year. They had a game against Tulsa. They lost by 1 point. They lost to somebody else. I forget who it was. They only lost 2 games the whole season, so their 2 games they lost were kind of bad.
They've had a lot of close games. They beat Memphis at the buzzer. And
Memphis,
that was a Memphis dominated game the entire game. And then
Oh my God, Wichita State's up 11 already.
let's go Shockers.
Shock the world, Shockers.
I'm just happy I don't have to change my bracket now because I had.
Well, can I change it by if like Drake loses this game or something?
Yeah,
Or they lock that in?
it locks tomorrow at noon.
Oh, okay, sure.
Noon Eastern.
I didn't know how they were doing it.
Yeah, but
I'm trying to look at the standings and who Houston's lost to. The 14-3 lost to.
But yeah,
East Carolina. That was the other dud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've been a couple of rough spots. They lost to, and then the other game was Wichita State, but Wichita State's a good team. So another one of those teams you don't really know. And Houston, like historically, has been like one of those teams that gets like a 2 or a 3 seed, and then at some point they just shit the bed.
So I have a question for you.
Hit me.
And last question, then we'll wrap up. If you had to take any team ranked over a 5 seed, so 6 and over.
6 and over.
So if you had to take any one of those 6 and over teams, who do you think has the best chance to win a national championship?
Tyler, you asked me the tough questions, man.
Because you can make arguments really well for
There's a lot of teams.
Of those 1 through 5s.
A lot of teams 6 through 16. You can make an argument for too.
6 through 16 champions.
I'm gonna have to say Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
I like their defense. They can be inconsistent at times. Like you said before, Mac McClung's been up and down this year, but I know that guy. That guy's a killer. I know he's going to have to step it up if they want to win, and I think they can. So I'm going to say Texas Tech.
It's tough. It's definitely tough. I'm still thinking about it. Oregon is one of those teams.
Oregon would be a good answer.
A 7-seeded Oregon is one of those teams that can go out and they can make a run. But, and this is the rule of thumb in almost every sport: defense wins championships. I don't think that's the case come March Madness. I think you have to be able to score in order to win. Because if you can score, you can beat anybody. That's the rule for a lot of teams. So I'm going to go, and this is going to be an SEC bias, and I'm sorry, but
that's fine. I should bias the entire episode.
LSU, I think, got such disrespect when they were given an 8 seed.
Well, they almost won that game.
They almost beat Alabama in the SEC,
and they still got a freaking 8 seed. Like, I'm not saying they should be like a top 5 seed, but like a 6 seed would have been good.
The game-winning shot rimmed out.
Yeah,
underneath the basket.
And then they got an offensive board and almost put it back up and won again.
Mm-hmm. Well, that one wouldn't have counted because the buzzer already went off.
Oh, the buzzer go off by then? I didn't watch the instant replay.
But yeah, the LSU can hang with the best, and they showed that in the SEC tournament. They beat Arkansas easily, and Arkansas is a 3 seed. So,
and people forget, beginning of the year, LSU was like a top 20-something team.
Yeah. And
they only fell off when they got the conference play.
So. They're one of their sophomore forwards, Trendon Watford. He has been hot recently. I mean, he can pull up from anywhere.
Is that the guy that hit all the threes in the championship game?
Yeah, he's made them.
Yeah.
So they have what it takes, and like we've said, that East region is wide open because both of us agree Michigan's not a strong 1 seed.
Not without Isaiah Livers.
Right. And I think LSU can go out there and they can beat a Michigan. They can go out there and they can beat a Florida State. And then they've shown that they can beat an Alabama. Well, they haven't shown they can beat Alabama. They've shown that they can hang with them. So, I don't know.
It's gonna be madness.
This is gonna be one of the greatest tournaments we've ever had, without a doubt.
And listen, even if it's not like the games aren't epic, just the fact that we have March Madness again is going to make it one of the best ones of all time.
Yeah.
So,
well, with that, we've got an episode coming out on Saturday where we'll break down some of the
first round matchups.
Some of the Friday games. There's going to be madness on Friday. We already know there's already madness today in the play-in games. So we'll see you on Friday. Yeah. So I guess signing off for Frank. We'll see Eric on Saturday. Adios.